You may do different things with your computer than I do, so some of these tips might not be all that relevant to you. But I'm pretty sure at least a few of them you're going to say, that is good to know. The point of this video is not to get you more involved in the computer world, but to make your life easier for whatever degree of involvement you currently have. Sitting for hours at a desk can be a major strain on your back. What I found to be a real lifesaver is to use a laptop bedstand so that I can do my work lying down on a bed. This is the model I've used for 10 years. Very happy with it. It's a little tricky adjusting, but once adjusted for the exactly comfortable angle and belly space, it works great. No more sitting at a desk for hours. It's common knowledge that simply restarting your computer will often fix any number of problems, a frozen computer being one of those problems. Restarting clears out temporary interfering information. But I also find that restarting individual programs will likewise fix problems in those individual programs. I have a video editing program that occasionally freezes. I close the program, restart it, and that invariably unfreezes it. Now, if your computer is completely frozen and won't even let you close it, press and hold down the on-off button for a good 5 seconds or more. Then wait a few minutes before turning the computer back on. That should work. As a computer gets filled up, it tends not to work as efficiently. A basic technique to clear up your computer storage is to transfer big files, especially large video files, to an external hard drive. That technique has generally worked well for me, but recently I found that my computer was getting to more than 4/5 full anyway. So I took it to the Best Buy Geek Squad, and the guy used an app he has to see what is taking up the most space. And it turned out that an old video editing program I no longer needed was taking up a huge amount of space with temporary files and so on. We deleted that program and I saved 230 gigabytes. That was a big deal for me. I find that a service contract with the Best Buy Geek Squad is well worth it. Whenever I get stuck with some intractable problem and I am at my wit's end, I make an appointment with them and they fix it. Here is a simple way to put a shortcut for the site onto your desktop. Go to the site, let's say Amazon, and simply drag this lock icon to your desktop. And there it is. If you want the name shortened, right-click it, rename it. I'll rename it just Amazon. And there's your quick shortcut to Amazon. Another way to reach a favorite site quickly is to keep its icon on your favorites bar. Usually just click on this icon to put it up on the bar. I have a separate video on this procedure since it can be tricky managing it until you learn how to do it. A big drawback to a PDF document is that you can't edit it as you can a Word document. So converting a PDF to a Word document is very useful. Here is a relatively simple way to do so without downloading a conversion program. Get your PDF file onto the desktop at the right. Open a new Word document and drag it to the left. Click on File at the upper left to bring up the Word homepage. drag the PDF file into any blank space at the top. That should bring up a window in the center for conversion. You might have to wait a minute or more and move your pointer around a bit so that the hourglass disappears and your pointer can click on OK. Click OK. Save it as a Word document. The conversion is not always perfect, especially if there are graphics and formatting, but it does a pretty good job. And now you can edit the material. Also, if you want to convert just a section of a PDF, highlight it, Control-C, and simply paste it into a Word document. You're probably familiar with several common ways to save space. Making the font smaller, making the margins narrower, going old school and putting indents at the start of each paragraph instead of skipping lines between paragraphs, putting the text into 2 columns. Don't forget that you can make the spacing between columns narrower also. Layout, columns, more columns, spacing, arrow down, OK. Here are a few more techniques that you might find useful. Use a half size for your font. I might find 12-point font takes up too much space, but 11-point font is a little too small for my tastes. I'll do a Control-All and type in 11.5 into the font size box and press Enter. Instead of skipping lines, skip half lines. Control-All, paragraph spacing arrow, spacing before at 0, spacing after at 6 instead of 12, line spacing at single, click OK. You can scale the text down. Control-All, font drop-down arrow, Advanced tab, Scale, and if I pick 50%, that saves me a lot of space. But of course it looks lousy. But I find if I choose 90%, that looks pretty good and saves me space. You can condense the letters. Control-All, font drop-down arrow, Advanced tab, spacing, drop-down arrow, condensed, and scroll up to 0.3. That puts the letters closer together, and it looks pretty good. Using file shortcuts is very useful. When you are currently working on a file, instead of having to search for it every time deep inside of various folders, you make a shortcut and put it onto your desktop so that it's right there for you. Right-click the file, show more options, send to, desktop, now you can just click on the shortcut on your desktop to open that file. You can also right-click on that shortcut and click Open File Location if you want to get to the folder that the file is in. Shortcuts are identified by this little blue arrow. A second good use of shortcuts is when you want a copy of a document in two different places, because you often forget just where you have it stored. The way to avoid confusion is not to make a copy, but to make a shortcut. Right-click, Show More Options, Create Shortcut, and move that shortcut to the other folder. That way you keep the original in its original folder, yet can access it from the other folder you happen to remember more easily at the time. Yet you are dealing with the same document each time. You're not adding different things to two documents at different times and getting yourself into a mess by ending up with two different documents with different information and missing information. Recap. Don't make a copy. Make a shortcut. When you paste text to a spot, it automatically adopts the formatting of that spot. Cut, paste. But that means you may have to laboriously reformat that segment. In the small window that pops up when you first paste it, if you click here on Paste Options and then on the Keep Source Formatting icon, it retains your original formatting. I find this very useful, especially when I'm transferring large segments with formatting. When you drag and drop a file to a flash drive or external hard drive, it makes a copy of that file. The original file is still there inside your computer. However, if you drag and drop a file from one location to another within your computer, it does not make a copy, it moves the file. So it's no longer where it was located. This is an important distinction. Say you dragged an important file from a folder to the desktop and then deleted it when you're done looking at it, thinking you still have the original in that folder. You don't. You've lost that file to the recycle bin. And if you emptied the recycle bin, you have lost that file. Recap. Dragging a file outside your computer makes a copy. Dragging a file within your computer does not make a copy, but moves it. Also, when transferring files, make sure you are copying the actual file, not its shortcut. Otherwise, you'll only be making a copy of the shortcut, and the flash drive will not have the actual file on it. Now, your computer will find a file from just that shortcut on a flash drive as long as it is attached to your computer and as long as that file is still there in your computer. But otherwise, you're stuck with nothing but a useless shortcut. I find that as long as I stay aware of whether I'm dealing with an actual file or a shortcut, using shortcuts is very helpful. I don't like being notified of everything all the time. It's very annoying and very dehumanizing. To not receive extra notifications, right-click Start, Settings, System, Notifications, and check Off. Or if you do want some notifications, check this list below and keep the ones you want on. I checked off up here, and I have not noticed not getting notifications I want. I mean, I still get emails and text messages, so that's fine. One thing I've hated was this widgets icon over here, which would pop up and cover a huge section of my screen if I accidentally hovered over it with my pointer. Right-click Start, type widget into the settings box, and click the widgets box off. Now I don't get them anymore, and there is one less annoyance in my life. Also, I don't like sites tracking my location. Right-click Start, Settings, Privacy and Security, Location, Off. I think that letting sites track my location generally helps them, not me. I use my computer calculator quite often, so I keep it pinned to my taskbar. If you type, the calculator disappears off the screen. If you want to keep it up there as you type, click this up arrow and it'll stay there as you type. Note that the computer calculator is also very useful for conversions. Click this navigation icon here and select your conversion options. If I want to know how much 50 miles an hour is in kilometers, I put in miles here and 50, and then kilometers here, and it shows the kilometers. 50 miles per hour is about 80 kilometers per hour. For comparing material or dragging material from one location to another, being able to pop the screen to half size is very useful. Here, I drag one document to the right, I grab it by the top and drag it to the edge. As soon as the pointer hits the edge, the document pops into half size. The screen shows what files I have up, and I click on the one I want, and it pops into half size on the left. You can do the same with internet screens. Note that dragging a document to the corner pops it into quarter size, to the edge into half size, and dragging it to the top pops it into full size. If you have an important document that you don't want others to see, like a list of your passwords, you could put it into an odd location. Instead of naming your document Passwords inside a folder named Important Documents, name it Doggy Treats inside a folder named Pet Supplies. Here's a couple of techniques I like to hide text. One is to make the font white. Then when you want to see it yourself, highlight that area and make the text black again. Another technique is to put a white rectangle over it. Insert, Shapes, Rectangle, position it and draw it. Make the shape fill white and the shape outline white. To look at the text yourself, hover your cursor around the spot until you get the 4 arrows icon up and drag the rectangle away, then put it back when you're done. Say you're a sports coach or a chef or a teacher or any number of professions where you take a lot of notes. I find a great way to save time in organizing your notes is to always put a title in front of each note and keep that note to 1 paragraph. That way you can organize them alphabetically in one quick operation instead of laboriously scrolling, cutting, and pasting all over the place. Here are some raw notes I have from years of watching wilderness survival programs. I can organize them alphabetically in less than a minute. Control-All, sort icon, delete the empty lines at the top, Control-All, put in some line spacing. Just imagine how much time you save doing this if you're a student who takes notes week after week and need to organize them before an exam. Put a title at the start of each note and then use the sort icon. You can capture anything on your screen as a picture by pressing the print screen key at the top of your computer. No visible new window comes up to show you that you've just taken a picture, but if you just go ahead and do a Control V into a Word document, the picture gets pasted there. If for some reason the print screen does not work, try pressing the FN key and the print screen key at the same time, or the Windows key and the print screen key. Also very useful is the Snipping Tool app, which allows you to take a picture of just part of the screen. Windows key, All Apps, Snipping Tool, click on the new snip icon, draw your desired rectangle, right-click, Save As, select where you want to land it, and there it is. I was talking to a Best Buy Geek Squad guy one day about this feature, and he said, oh yeah, he uses the snipping tool a lot. On my computer, whatever tab size I have set as my default tab, When I press the Enter key, that tab is automatically entered for the first line of my next paragraph. I don't have to press the Tab key. If your computer does not do that automatically, you can set it up to do so like this. Special, first line, let's put in 0.5, OK. In fact, this function can be very useful for changing a tab size throughout an entire document in one operation. Say you're submitting an article to a magazine or a paper to a teacher, and you've used your preferred 0.2 tab size, but now you find out that the preferred tab size for submission is actually 0.5. Do a Control-All and change the tab size in this window, and you get them all changed in one operation. I've tried changing all the tab sizes in one operation under the Tabs window, but I came up with mixed results. Whereas using the Paragraph window worked consistently for me. If you want to change your text format from tabs for each paragraph to skipped lines between paragraphs, do a Control-All, Paragraph drop-down arrow, go to Special, drop-down arrow, first line, scroll it down to 0, OK. Then change your line spacing to a single line. And you now have your document in the skipped lines format instead of the tab indents format. Go to a site called Google Translate and paste in the foreign text on the left, and it automatically translates it to English on the right. Let's try English to Spanish. Click here to hear it spoken.
¿Dónde está la tienda?
You can use your computer as a voice recorder. Search box, sound recorder, press the red button to record. It is now recording. You can hear me, right? Press the black square to stop recording. Press the play button to play. It is now recording. You can hear me, right? The sound quality is not that great, but it will do in a pinch. You can speak into your computer and have it automatically type what you're saying. You have to be connected to the internet, and you have to have your cursor in an open Word document. Press the window logo key and H, and then start talking. Okay, comma. I am speaking now, and it is typing what I say, period. Is this working? Question mark. Yes, period. Okay, now I'm going to add automatic punctuation by clicking on this settings icon here. Now it should automatically punctuate for me. Is it punctuating automatically for me? Yes. In my case, when I first tried this feature, the mic wouldn't register anything, but I right-clicked Start, Settings, Sound, and clicked Microphone, and then it worked. It does a pretty good job if you speak clearly, but it doesn't really pick up conversations well at all. And you have to practice with it for a while to decide whether it really works smoothly enough for your purposes or not. You can capture internet text by highlighting it. Left mouse press and right mouse drag. Then copy and paste it into a Word document. Or, easier, just drag it over. I find it easier to capture internet text by turning on Caret browsing, so I can use a cursor to highlight the text. To bring up Caret browsing, on my old computer I just pressed the F7 key at the top, but on my new one I have to press the FN key at the bottom left and the F7 key at the top. And it shows you turn on or off Caret browsing. Click the cursor into the desired spot, and then you can use Shift and the arrow keys to highlight more accurately. Then drag it on over. Note that you have to be on the Internet window when you press the F7 key, not on the Word document, or it'll bring up a grammar window. If you live on the East Coast but have a relative in California, you can set up an additional clock so that you can see the difference in times right away. Type "change the date and time" into your search box. Go down to Additional Clocks and open that up. The one for yourself should already be set. Then set the one for your California relative. Check this box. Find Pacific Coast Time. And name it California. Now you can click on the time at the lower right and you get both times. Right-click an empty desktop spot, View, click Show Desktop Icons to toggle it off or on. The best spot to grab a screen and drag it is an empty spot right at the top. You can get an automatic happy emoji by typing colon and in parentheses. and a sad emoji by typing colon and start parentheses. For other emojis, press the Windows key and the semicolon key to bring up this window. You can choose from their selection there, or you could type in an emoji to bring one up. On my old computer, if I wanted to repeat a function, I only had to press the F4 key at the top. With my new computer, I need to press the FN key at the bottom and the F4 key at the same time. Say I decide not to use a paragraph, but I still want to keep the text in case I change my mind and want to use it after all. I highlight the section, I go to Font drop-down arrow, Effects, double strike through, OK. And if I think I want to do the same with the next paragraph also, I highlight it and press FN and F4, which repeats the last function I just did, putting in a double strike through. Putting in a horizontal line can be useful in separating sections of text. Go to the paragraph box, the Borders drop-down arrow, and click Horizontal Line. You can format the line, let's say, to a thicker red line by double left-clicking it to highlight it, thicker, red, OK. Another way to get a quick horizontal line, a dotted one, is to type in 3 or more asterisks at the center of a line and press Enter. Or if you prefer the asterisk look, do an immediate Control-Z. Getting rid of this dotted line afterwards is typical computer aggravation. If you try to delete it in the normal way by highlighting it and pressing delete, it does not work. What you have to do is place your cursor immediately above the horizontal line and, highlighting nothing, go to the paragraph box, Borders icon drop-down arrow, and click on No Border. That gets rid of it. The site I use for a dictionary is dictionary.com. And if you click on the sound icon here, it pronounces the word for you.
Eisegesis.
It works for some proper names also.
Obama.
But for others, you might have to Google, how do you pronounce Giannis Antetokounmpo, whatever.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I think the key is don't pronounce the N, just leave out the N. Antetokounmpo. I like to have automatic hyphenation on to tighten up my text spacing. Go to Layout tab, Hyphenation drop-down arrow, Hyphenation options, click Automatic. The default setting for a new document is none, so if you want automatic hyphenation, you have to turn it on by clicking Automatic for that document. You can make your selection after finishing your document, and you don't need to do a Control-Alt, just click automatic, or none. You can double-click on the area between pages to hide that space between the pages. Double-click again to bring that space back. Sometimes, despite setting narrow margins, your bottom margin remains too wide for your tastes. This may be a matter of having your widows and orphans setting on, which setting doesn't allow single line text to sit by itself at the bottom, but keeps that whole paragraph together by moving it to the next page. Go to Paragraph drop-down arrow, Line and Page Breaks, and uncheck Widow-Orphan Control. You can hide your ribbon by double-clicking the current tab. Click it again to bring it back. You can set tabs by using the ruler function. But I prefer using the paragraph box. So I don't want the ruler showing. I click View at top and uncheck Ruler. Put Night Light into the search box. Turn on and drag the scrubber to your preference. Scroll bars can be weird. Sometimes you have to hover your pointer over the scroll bar area and then they appear. And a little more hovering makes them thicker and more easily grabbed. For all it's worth, I am finding more and more that it's easier to use the search box here as a go-to spot for all searches, instead of using other routes to find things. For example, I could look for the Paint app under Start, All Apps. But it's easier to just type Paint into the search box. Sometimes you get a situation where you get an indent for the second line of the paragraph and you can't delete it. To get rid of it, highlight the text, go to Paragraph, Indents and Spacing, indentation, special drop-down arrow, and get rid of that hanging indent by clicking None and OK. If you want the taskbar out of the way unless you need it, type taskbar settings into the search box, go under taskbar behaviors, check automatically hide the taskbar. Then the taskbar pops up only when you need it, when you move the pointer into the bottom of the screen. Occasionally I get this small black triangle showing up and moving around. I have no idea how it got there, what purpose it serves other than to land at the beginning of paragraphs and annoy me. To get rid of it, do a Control-All, Paragraph tab drop-down arrow, indents and spacing, General, Outline Level, and click Body Text. OK. This had aggravated me for years until I figured out what was happening. If you press the Shift key and Enter, that is the command to spread the words out over that line. What was happening was that I accidentally hit Shift and Enter when I really wanted to hit Shift and the quote key. The quote key is right next to the Enter key. I would keep making that mistake and unintentionally ordering up the words to be spread out. Here I have an oryx that is heading west into the barren desert, perhaps to his untimely doom. I would like to save its life by having him head east instead, towards an oasis. So I grab one edge and pull it over to the other side so that he is heading in the right direction. There is a picture of Billy the Kid, the infamous outlaw from the 1800s. His pistol is on his left hip, so most people thought he was left-handed. But one day, an expert on guns from that era noticed a particular part of the rifle in the picture was on the wrong side, and he realized this picture of Billy the Kid is a flipped version. Billy the Kid was actually right-handed. Thanks for watching. If you recently bought a Kindle, check out my website on the lower right.